All right. Hey, good morning, Pat.
Morning.
All right. Well, I've got a quick question for you. If you could go back to the beginning of your day trading career, what would you do differently?
Man, that's a good one. Well, I would do a lot of stuff differently. Day trading, as we know, it's kind of one of those processes. It's like we don't know what we don't know, and we kind of figure things out as we go, right? But if I could, like knowing what I know now, what would I change? The first thing I think that comes to my mind would be the whole penny stock thing. Now, I know a lot of people start there. And just thinking about it, I've got a few more thoughts on that to expand with. But I think like just starting with the whole penny stock thing. Would I start with penny stocks again? No. I think what it is with penny stocks, it's like that barrier to entry is really low, right? Because they're inexpensive. But I think for a brand new trader, they're not ideal. We all know like the 90, 95, 97% of traders fail. That's one of the reasons why, because they're picking the wrong vehicle to trade, right? Penny stocks is not the vehicle for people that are just learning. People say that volatility, right? Well, that volatility isn't good for a new trader. We don't want volatile. When you are first starting out, that is the last thing you want is volatility. But volatility equals money, right? So that's why I think a lot of people go and gravitate towards penny stocks. Another thing about penny stocks, when you're first starting out and you're like scouring the internet for information and education, maybe you're using YouTube, maybe you're using whatever. Again, penny stocks seem to like have a magnet for the 90 percenters. So the information out there is going to reflect that statistic. And that statistic isn't a good thing. So when you hear things as a new trader, you're going to think that it sounds great and it's easy and it's like, oh, that's exactly what would work. Because why? Because it makes sense in my head. See, here's the thing. Like one of the reasons why traders fail, I think, is because they don't do the opposite, right, of what they should be doing. If it sounds like it makes sense, okay, you're probably wrong. And I know that is a real broad statement, but it's true, right? Like how many times do I talk about that, Adam, with like doing the opposite? It's not just about being a contrarian. It's about like literally doing the opposite of what you feel you should do, right? Like where you enter the stock, where you exit on the stock. It's very upside down, bizarro world, right? It's backwards. So the information and education that's out there with penny stocks is generally going to be run by 90 percenters, 95 percenters, the ones that fail and fake it till they make it type of thing. And then all of that bullshit is going to get into your head. And that's what's going to happen. You know, another thing, it's not even just penny stocks. Like nowadays, there's a lot of different like inexpensive vehicles to get into, right? Like binary options and like micro contracts and shit like that. If you like, I understand like people are like, they're desperate to get out, right? But you really need to start with some proper capital. Like, and I'm not talking tens of thousands of dollars. That's not what I'm saying. But if you think for an absolute second that you're going to be able to actually make it out with a few $100 in a trading account, you're delusional. And I think like it's no longer just penny stocks. Like even me just saying like, don't start with penny stocks. I think that's even antiquated. That's out of date. It's not just penny stocks. Like I said, there's binary options, which are complete bullshit. Not options, binary options, very different. And I just think there's far better ways of doing it. Like when I started, I was pretty underfunded. Now, mind you, my very first account, and I just told this story on the last video we did, so I'm not going to rehash it, but I started with a really decent sized trading account, $25,000 trading account. And then I torched it, right? So I'm not saying that you need $25,000 because you absolutely don't, but you cannot be starting with $200, $500. If that's the case, work harder, save more. But penny stocks, there's just far better ways of doing it. And off the top of my head, I mean, And it's not just because this is what I trade, but I trade options. I don't trade options. People always hit me up in the comment section. And they always say, well, I don't know anything about options. No, I don't trade options like options. I don't use any of the Greeks. I don't even look at an options chart to enter. I trade the stock chart, but enter via options. Okay. And for those of you saying, well, that's not going to work, I've been doing this for years and it absolutely does work. So I don't trade options like regular options, but that's what I trade. And it's the same price as penny stocks, right? For the most part. The volatility, people will talk about the volatility in options will crush you. No, not when you actually follow a strategy. And we've proven this. But if you want to talk about percentage gains, because that's one of the things that drew me to penny stocks, is like, I could make 100% over the course of a few days. Well, I can literally make 100% on options in 4 minutes, 5 minutes some days. And I'm not saying that those results are typical. I'm not saying that, but it's very doable. There's been day trades, not a swing trade, not holding for months or weeks, of like 2,000, 4,000%. Those are the types of gains that you can get on options. And it's very limited barrier to entry. There's no PDT. And also another thing, for those of you that don't know what PDT is pattern day trader rule. You can only trade so many times before they flag you. As long as you trade in a cash options account, you're good to go. But I didn't know that at the time. Obviously, I didn't know that. I was very new to trading, and penny stocks seemed like the way to go. But if you're underfunded, you can't short penny stocks, and that's a large part of the strategy out there. Well, you can, even if you have like a tax-free savings account that you trade out of, well, you can't short in one of those accounts, but you can buy puts. And all that means is it's a fancy way with options of basically shorting a stock without shorting a stock. You don't need to find shares to borrow. The amount of money that I spent at the beginning on borrowing shares, man, I remember there was one LIFN. This thing was going ballistic and it was definitely topping out. I believe it was LIFN. 90% sure on that one. And those shares to borrow were 17 cents a share to borrow. Well, if you're making 17 cents a share, like just on a regular $1 stock, that's 17%. That's huge. So it's going to cost you. And you have to pay that even if you use it or not. There's just a better way is ultimately what I'm saying. And I know a lot of people start with penny stocks. And like I said, nowadays it's different. There's Forex, there's also, and Forex and futures, you can get these funded accounts and all this shit. And there's a better way of doing it, right? Like, don't give percentages to people, right? To trade out of these bullshit accounts. And I know a lot of people will disagree with that. I know they will. But again, take it from a guy that's been down this road. I've been down this road. There's nothing I haven't tried. I've literally tried everything at the beginning. Like, there's nothing I haven't tried. You don't need to. There's legitimate ways, like legitimate and, reputable ways. Because when you start trading, like, just another thought here, and kind of like a side mark, like when you are trading penny stocks or like, let's say binary options, it's down here, right? And that's going to be in your head that you're still living down here. And it's more of a mentality thing. And it's a self-respect thing and self-confidence thing. If you're trying to get up here in life, but you're still living down here and you're thinking like that, living down here, like I can say with pride what I do for a living when people ask. And if somebody were to ask at the beginning, trade, like I would never say, oh, I trade penny stocks. Like it's just like, ugh. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, maybe that's just me. I'm sure there's a lot of people, if they dug deep within their mind and they were honest with themselves, that are trading stuff like binary options and Forex and shit like that and penny stocks, that's what it is. It's like, you're trying to get up here, but you're still living down here. And it's one of those things that it's like, what I know now, I would change. And the solution to it would have been options. But trading options the way I trade options, not the traditional way at all. That is, no good in my opinion. And we could do a whole video on that if you guys want. Let me know in the comment section if that's something like, why do you not trade options traditionally? I can do a whole episode on that, because what I do in the strategy I trade is it just doesn't get any better than that. It really doesn't. So I think that's number one. You got any comments with that? Because I know you traded penny stocks at the beginning.
I mean, I would certainly look to jump over the penny stock phase, and because on reflection, it created a whole foundation of just kind of busy work thinking, because you got to have your scanners. You never know what tomorrow will bring. You have no kind of, by default, how do you find consistency in an inconsistent world? And the penny stock world is based on inconsistency. So the predictability factor, which is what's so great about trading options, and the way that you trade them, it removes all of the volatility, all of the unpredictability, all the uncertainty. That is the actual very foundation for the argument of why people who do trade penny stocks trade penny stocks. So you learn all of these bad habits. You learn to exist in this sea of uncertainty. So then that embeds in your mind that trading is a world of uncertainty. Trading is a world of, I just need to get lucky for this particular setup. Yeah. And basis of success is a basis of principles that are more aligned with gambling than they are with strategy. So that's why if I was to go back, not to mention most of the people that are coaches and teach people that, how to trade penny stocks actually require a big upfront fee of $6,000, $5,000 or more. And what does that also tell you? That they know you're not going to be around long. No. When I found Pat, it's like, wow, he just has one low monthly, relatively speaking. So that $6,000 can more than double to fund your account to trade options, which, we recommend to start out $2,500. So you've got plenty of money to have several months of a membership as well as fund your account. I mean, so to me, if I could come back, it's like going right to Tricktrades would have just been a dream. So I went to learn bad habits. I had to probably spend a year unlearning. I would have had way more money in the bank, a much better training. All of these things right off the bat to just go from trading options as opposed to all of the garbage I had to undo. That would have been the first thing to start. There's a lot more list of things for me that I would change differently. But if we're talking about penny stocks, that's certainly way different path forward. Would have been much faster.
Way faster. Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. Like the amount of stuff that I had to unlearn and like the bad habits that I picked up and the anxiety and the stress. Like, I think that's why it took so long for my heart to stop palpitating once the market bell went. I think it's because of penny stocks. I think there's a level of PTSD in there. And I actually did fairly well trading penny stocks. Like, that's the crazy thing. I actually did well, but there's a far better way of doing it. Far better.
Yeah.
Adam, you mentioning scanners, that would be my next point. Fuck the scanners. Get rid of these bloody scanners. And I'm guilty of using them too. Start with, like, if I could go back knowing what I know now, it would be small basket of stocks. And I'll tell you why. This is like the main reason. It's not just the scanners. That's a whole nother topic there, and we'll talk about it here in a bit. But it's forming a relationship with these stocks. And I know that might sound a little goofy. It's something that I've talked about for the past, 8 years running Tricktrades. Each and every stock has its own personality. Like, just like Adam and I, we're different. We have different personalities. Let's say I'm super neurotic, high-strung lunatic. Some will agree to that. And let's say Adam is very calm and he's level all the time. His voice never fluctuates. It's always monotone. It's like that. Let's just say those two types of people. Well, there's a certain type of person that would gravitate towards me, and there's a certain type of person that would gravitate towards Adam. And that's the whole basis behind these stocks having personalities. Because let's say Apple. Let's take Apple and Tesla. I'm Tesla, Adam is Apple. Well, people that want huge gains and they're gunslingers and they're way more accepted of the risk and the volatility and the wildness, they'll gravitate towards Tesla because they have more of a gambler mentality. Okay, let's put it like that. And then we have Apple, which for the most part is a very clean trading stock, very clean. Now, yes, it has its days, right? Just like any other person would have its days
Like
where it's slightly off. But
right.
Apple is a very calm, predictable type of stock. So those people that see Apple as that, like they're going to gravitate towards that. And that's why Apple becomes that, it becomes self-fulfilling in its own personality, if you guys catch my drift. So when you get to know a small basket of stocks, now I have a basket of stocks of like 17, 18 stocks, but I trade 2. We were trading 4, and it was SPY, Qs, Apple, AMD. Sometimes we would throw in Meta. Now we remove those 2 to just go with SPY and Qs. And there's a reason for that, especially when you're trading options. The premium never will change. Okay. And premium is just the price. It's the way that the price moves. Okay. The price of the option. It's the way it moves. Now, Apple can have days when you enter into it. And I'm not saying Apple's bad to trade options with. It's amazing. I've made millions on Apple alone through the years. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite stocks out there. But there are days where you look at it and it's like, well, that trade should have been worth so much more. Or why did I lose so much, right? It didn't make sense. And that's the price of the premium, right? But SPY and Qs never change. It's always the same within reason, right? So it's about getting to know the personality of these stocks and understanding them. Like AMD and Apple, very different. And same with Meta and same with NVIDIA. Each one has its own personality. And I know their personality like the back of my own hand. Why? Because I've been trading them specifically for years. It's like knowing your best friend. Your best friend, you're going to know. You're going to know when your best friend's lying to you. You're going to know when your best friend's sad. You're going to know when your best friend is pissed off at you. You're going to know. No words need to be mentioned. You're going to know. Just like you're going to know if Apple is full of shit that day or something just doesn't smell right. You're going to know. That's why. That is such a key point. And thinking about it, even before I even go on with the rest of this, if that's all you take out of this, take that shit to the bank, guys. I'm telling you, work with a small basket of stocks. So that's a main reason for small basket of stocks. Now let's talk about scanners. Now, scanners seem well, but again, if you trade a small basket of stocks, there is absolutely no need for that. And scanners equal no preparation. That's ultimately what comes of it. Why? Because you're relying on those scanners to pick your stocks for you because it's up on volume or there's whatever the parameters are. And although they can show you some great plays, don't get me wrong, it's not about always having that great play. Why do you always, each and every day of your trading life, you need a great play? That actually increases your risk when you're trading stocks with a catalyst. Now, most of you watching this would most likely identify as a technical trader, right? You like technicals, technician. Well, we don't want catalyst at all. We don't want those catalysts. We want pure technicals. Now, if you're disagreeing with what I just said, zip, you don't know what you're talking about. So please just listen. I'm trying to help you here. Catalyst, don't want it. In fact, some of my biggest, best, easiest plays are stocks that are consolidating sideways on the daily chart. It becomes so predictable. That is like shooting fish in a barrel. I love it. So catalyst, you don't want that. And catalyst equals your scanners, essentially, because that's why they get picked up on scanners, because the volume increase and everything else. But it really boils down to the preparation time. You know, if you're relying on a scanner that's telling me that you didn't do your nightly scans, you didn't prepare the night before, pre-market, you didn't prepare, you're just seeing that stock for the first time, possibly in your career. You know nothing about it. You have no idea how it trades. And then some people will say, well, then I can check the sheets on it and I can see what its float is and this. Stop. That's time wasted is what it is. It's a waste of time. It's unnecessary. And again, I know people will disagree. Just listen. Take it from a guy that's been there, done that, man. You know, I've been day trading now for 11 years. I've been through it. And I've been consistent for the majority of it. So just take my word for it, guys. Those scanners and all of that sort of stuff, it's a complete waste of time. Just stick with a small basket of stocks. You're going to save yourself a lot of anxiety and a lot of bullshit. Plus a lot of money. Those scanners are not cheap. It's a monthly payment for stuff like trade ideas and all that stuff. And I know there's other scanners, but it's just, and yeah, you can do it off your charting software, but I'm talking if you wanted like premium scanners. And I used to support trade ideas, and I'm not saying it's a bad product. It's a great product, but there is a better way. It's a better way, guys. There's to understand and to really know and develop a relationship with these stocks, to know their personality is where it's at. That's really what it is.
Real quick on that, Pat, because this is something that took a while to really sink in. And I think the idea of the scanners really fits the whole package, or can put things into perspective, because it's not just a scanner, it's the whole lifestyle around trading. And it's
Yes.
when we go to trading, it's like we go into this for money. But what I realized what it was really about is, and it's so easy to throw this word around, is freedom. And we're setting ourselves up not to make money so much as we're setting ourselves up to have a lifestyle. And so if we're building our trading career off of a lifestyle for hunting for the next big opportunity, whether we're using tools like a scanner or we're looking for low floaters, we're looking for volatility, we're setting up a whole lifestyle of always being hungry. And who wants to live like that? You're always hungry for the next day's opportunity, the next scanner's results. And is there a result? And you're hunting around and you're always kind of out in the jungle looking for your food. And it's like, it took me a really long time to make that shift, as watching your life as an example, where you're done by pretty much 10 o'clock every morning. And the amount of prep that you have to do, because you've decided, I want a lifestyle of freedom. I want a lifestyle of, I'm not chained to my computer. I'm not married to my scanners and my tools and all this complexity just to justify the income. It's go almost to that 9 to 5 mentality where I have to work to get my money. And you flip that up on its upside down. And it's like, man, I want to live satiated. I want to live feeling full. And that's really what we're talking about here when we're separating ourselves from what would we do differently. It's the foundation of the whole package in our mind. It's about letting go of all the chains that we've attached ourselves to, and not needing scanners, not needing to hunt around for stocks, not needing to look for things when you can literally have them on 2 tickers, and living a life that's simple and easy and light and free. I mean, to me, that's a huge thing to go back. And if I could tell myself, it's like, dude, forget all that. Just go right to the simple, and life will be
exactly
simple.
it. That's exactly it. I would be content. I would train myself to be content.
Yeah.
The amount of setbacks and everything else from trying and like trading hungry, man, oh man, I would have been so much further ahead.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt. Like no doubt. You can't even argue that. Like it's,
no.
Yeah, it just to be content. There's something about that. It's a freeing feeling because again, it's that anxiety. It's the thought of it. It's like you're always chasing. Fuck that. I want nothing to do with that. Like we want an easy life. That's why we're trying to get into this, right? So make it easy on yourself. The next point here, talking about like doing things correctly. I wouldn't have paper traded at the beginning. Now, some people may take a little bit, they might have a problem with this, but just hang tight. Paper trading, if you're working on, let's say you just got a new broker or a new platform, and you went to your paper account to execute, just to execute and make sure everything's good, cool, all good. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm talking about is paper trading for long periods of time to learn. You're lying to yourself, because that's what I was doing. I was lying to myself, because a lot of that learning, that wasn't learning. It was, I would tell myself lies like, oh, I'm just going to try this. Nah, you're not trying. You're fucking around. That's what you're doing. You're fucking around. You're wasting time. You're pissing around. You're trying to make money. That's what you're doing. And at the end of the day, those results don't translate to real money. So some of you might be asking, well, how? Like, well, what do you want me to do? Well, trade small. Especially with options, you have the ability to trade small. Enter with 1 or 2 contracts. And I'll tell you what, why not, when you are learning, enter in, even with shares, just shares. And this is what I tell members that are like have this major emotional attachment to money, and 1 or 2 contracts is still too much, like for whatever reason. I tell them to enter with 1 or 2 or 3 shares. Just get the act of entering and paying yourself, entering into support, paying yourself into that first level of resistance, however you want to do it. There's ways to do it to learn with no risk, because what are you going to lose if you enter in on a $100 stock with 1 share? Well, you're going to lose like 10 cents. You're not going to lose anything. So don't worry about whittling your trading account down. Like there's nothing there. There are no losses that can be occurred by with 1 or 2 shares. Like, it's just not going to happen. So it's a lie. It's a lie that we tell ourselves, because it's like, oh, well, I need to learn. Well, you're not really learning. Number 1, it's busy work. And number 2, you're going to lie to yourself. And before somebody says, no, when I paper trade, I do it exactly the way. You don't. It's almost an impossible task. Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking from experience on that one. It really is. You're lying to yourself. And I cannot stress that enough. Paper trading, I would throw that shit out the window where it belongs, right in the trash bin. But again, though, I'm going to make this point clear. If you need to execute on a brand new platform, sure, switch it over to the demo side of things and just execute to see how it works and everything else. But your reaction or the fill time is going to be different. There's going to be a lot of things that are still different. That's why I tell you, just trade in a live market, but use extremely small size until you get the hang of it, right? And you understand your platform and everything else that goes along with it, right? And you develop your strategy, you prove it out. Or if you're going to learn from someone like me, I've already done the heavy lifting, right? Then you can put it in action. And that's why we have our size up program, right? Like, it takes you from very small size and it builds you. When you're ready, you get to size up, right? We've taken all the guesswork out. But that's what I would be. There's too many bad habits that get picked up with paper trading and trading in a demo. And you may not realize that you're picking up these bad habits, because again, it's one of those things. You don't know what you don't know until it's too late. It's just too late. Those bad habits, they're already in you. And then to break those bad habits, man, oh man, bad. Like, it takes a long time. It really sets a guy back. And that is one thing that if I could go back, I would definitely change. I would not piss around with that. And I would just enter with 1 share or 3 shares, right? So then I can enter and then pay myself or average in to correct into support or my stop and then pay myself, whatever, right? That's exactly what I would do. What are your thoughts on that, Adam?
Yeah, it just comes down to, I think like you said, there's a very small discipline case to be made for paper trading. And that's just become familiar with your environment.
Yeah,
But I'm with you there. At the end of the day, you're going to get more lies than truth out of paper trading. And we're after truth.
100%. Yeah.
And there's just no other way around it. It's going to
No.
create comfort where there is no comfort. And it's going to give a false sense of security where there is no security. And so the second you go live, you just walked into a trap door because you gain nothing that really matters, which is in this game, which is emotional control. That's what matters most. So
Yes.
that kind of training is just creating pathways in our brain that have to be broken. That's so much harder. It's harder to build the right pathways in our brain than it is to destroy the ones that are there. It's a difficult process to undo, like you said. So I just would second that if I was to go back and, I'll look back and say, dude, you're just messing around. What are you doing? You're wasting time, you
Well,
know?
wasting time is a really big thing. And what Adam said about, developing emotional control. So let's say, for example, you started trading and you traded in your demo or paper traded for 6 months or even a year. Let's say that, right? Well, that's 6 months or a year that you have not been working on emotional control. You're behind. You're behind. Any way you slice it, you are. And again, it's one of those things where people may want to disagree with that. Again, you just listen because that's what's going on. It's about always staying not ahead, but you got to be growing. And if you're using something where there is no emotional attachment to it, even though you may think there is, there isn't. It's not on the same level. It's putting you behind greatly. So if you are watching this and you made it this far, throw that shit out the window, period, full stop, get rid of it. So everything that I have done in my life, and I was talking to Adam about this, and I've mentioned it before, like you could literally throw me in any situation, anything, positive or negative, and I'll get it figured out. You know what I mean? Like you could throw me in an F1 car with no experience whatsoever. Now, I'm not saying I would be a badass at it, but I'd get it figured out. I'd figure it out. There's nothing that life can't throw at me that I can't get figured out, right? I'm just one of those guys. And bringing that into trading, what I wish I would have done differently is I would have set that part of me aside. Now, obviously, that's kind of almost like a 50-50 because there's part of you that needs to be that swinging dick. Yet you have to. You have to have self-confidence when you're doing this, right? If you're not confident, you're not going to be able to pull the trigger, right? So there needs to be that confidence level. But on the other end of it, like I just wish I would have put that aside because you don't know shit. Just like I didn't know shit, didn't know nothing, right? And I'm lying to myself, thinking that I'm seeing something that it's just like you just shut the fuck up, man. Like you don't like what are you even looking at? Like it's just like it makes me cringe some of the things that I would tell myself back then, right? Like it's like no, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Stop. So there's someone out there that I'm actually thinking about, and this is the same person as the that Bitcoin scam, and she always talks about, and that's why I called her the Bitcoin queen. She has this way about her, and she's never made a dime with Bitcoin, right? But yet she'll tell everyone around her that Bitcoin is her thing, right? It's her thing. She knows, right? And this is why she'll never make a dime until that changes. Like, and I'm not saying I was that bad because that's on a whole other level. That's a whole other topic there. But I just wish I would have been more open to listening. But again, it's back then, and I've said this a million times, there wasn't really much to learn from. There really wasn't. It was your usual suspects like Tim Sykes, and Ross was just kind of starting at that point. Jason Bond, Cameron Foose. That's about it. They're Sang Lucci, but he trades options like traditional options. I'm not interested in that. So the little bit that maybe I read or I saw or this or that, right? Like, I just wish I was a little more open to really submitting and listening. But again, it's hard for me to say that because there really wasn't much there. That's kind of hard for traders that are coming into it right now. Like, there's so much. Actually, you have the opposite problem. Now it's full. Like, it's just the information overload and the garbage that's out there is fucking insane. Where do you even start? Adam and I talked about this yesterday. Like, where would a new trader even start? Like, how would they even find someone that is legitimate? Like, it's overrun with garbage, right? But I think that's what I would change. If I could change and go back, I think I would just submit more to the process. Maybe not to someone, but to the process of like, no, I'm not gonna be amazing at it, right? Because anything I've ever done or attempted in my life where it's like I've shown a true passion for it, I'm in it, man. Like, you can't tear me away from it. Like, I'm in it and I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to do well no matter what. Like, it's one of those things, man. And obviously, on the flip side of that, thank God for that part of me. I probably wouldn't be sitting here. You know, it's kind of one of those 50-50s. It's a hard one to describe, but it's like, it is a thought that I have had that it's one of those things that I would change for sure. Yeah, it's kind of a big one because I see a lot of people out there. Like, you can go through and generally, like, there's a resounding positive side to the comment section on any of my videos and stuff like that. And I'm very grateful and thankful for that people are actually understanding and getting it and they're getting something out of this. But then there's always those few, right? And a lot of it, and I've talked about this before, like, people say, oh, fuck the haters and the no, they're not haters or trolls. These are misguided fools is what they are. They don't know what they don't know. And I can almost see a little part of me in that, like way, way, way back then, right? But I always give those people one. And that's one of the reasons. Like, if you guys want to know why, that's why. Because I see a small little part of me in there. So I try to get through to them. I try and like help them understand. And I'll generally write them a really long-winded response. And not if they're just being like, just completely disrespectful or assholes. Like, I've got no time for people like that. You wouldn't speak to me like that in person because I'd fucking choke you out. But for people that they might have that air about it, but you can tell that they're miseducated is what's going on. They don't know. So I'll write a pretty long-winded comment back to them and try and help them understand. There's actually been quite a few times where people have like, oh, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for taking the time. But then there's a lot that obviously they're just not worth your time because it's like they don't want to get it, right? But that's why I give that one chance. I'll always give people one chance, even if they're being fucking jerks. I'll give them a chance because I do see a real small part of me in that way back then, where it's like, I could see myself saying something like that because I wouldn't understand what I was looking at. So you start poking holes in it or something. But I think to take it even a step further, now I wouldn't do this, but like where people are saying things like, you know, oh, he's selling a course. Of course he is. Or it's like, I've seen this pop up quite often. It's like, man, finally someone that I can listen to and make sense. But as soon as they start saying that they're selling a course, it must be a fraud or a scam. Guys, I don't know a single doctor, lawyer, architect that has not paid for their education. And I'm going to tell you straight up, those three careers are a cakewalk compared to day trading. That is facts. That's the fact of it. So if you do have someone that you're jiving with and he is making sense, there's no way through the missed opportunity costs that I would do this for free. Because at the beginning, I did do it for free. And I've told this story a million times. I don't want to bore the people that have heard it. But when I first opened up Tricktrades, I had the website and everything for free. Everything was for free. You got nightly scans, video lessons, all of it, screen share, all on my dime. And I did that for a long time, and people just ruined it. And then it's just like they become entitled and everything else. And I wanted people that have some skin in the game. And the crazy thing is, like, people don't understand, like, new traders don't understand, like, 20 years ago, okay? So 20 years ago, if you got into trading and you were looking to learn from someone, well, that's 100 grand all day long, man. And sometimes that it would be like 20, 30 grand, sometimes 50 grand for like a 1 hour phone call with the guy, because that's before the technology where you could just fire up screen share and shit, man. So if you have someone that's willing to offer their time, that actually knows what they're doing and has been consistent for, 8 years plus on social media, doing the same thing, trading the same stocks, executing the same strategy, fucking consistent gains, all of that, listen to them, right? Like, and do a little bit of research, that's all. But I just wish that I didn't come in knowing it all. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of like that. It's a hard one to describe. I know it sounds like really simple, but it's more complex than that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, people who are looking free, unfortunately, they don't respect money. That's just the
No.
bottom line.
Or time.
Yeah, they don't respect money, they don't respect time. And if that's the mentality, why would someone who does respect money and time want to work with somebody like that? Because at the end of the day, what they say and what they do as a teacher will not be respected by the person who's getting it for free. So it's going to waste the time of the person giving their time for free, and it's just a sad place to be, to expect stuff for free and to think they're going to extract value out of it. If you don't have skin in the game, it's almost like you're robbing your soul of its character when you look for free. You're not willing to reciprocate for people who have that mindset that, well, I'm going to roam the earth getting scraps for free and I'm going to build an empire out of scraps. It's a delusion, you know,
Yeah, it's
it
super
really is.
delusional.
So, yeah, and I'm a lot like you, Pat, where I've, spent a life figuring things out. That's just been who I've always been. I broke apart motorcycle engines when I was 14 of two broken motorcycles to figure out how they work and made one motorcycle that worked. And that's
Yeah.
just how do you know how to do that? You just figure it out. And so I went into trading, after figuring out how to write, my own software company. I figured that out. Oh, okay. I wrote a million lines of code. I figured out that I had several hundred clients. This should be a walk in the park, learning how to trade. And it's like right there with you. I'm more of the person, I think, that should have gone into this knowing not to figure it out on my own, because that probably delayed me about a year or more,
Yeah.
before I finally realized I need to submit to someone that is taking the time to figure this out instead of me wasting my time figuring it out. So I had to really let a huge part of me go,
Yeah.
and I'm still working on that. It's not something you just do overnight. That's basically giving a death sentence to your comfortable self, and your comfortable self is going to fight to the death, and it's a brutal fight that takes a lot of battles to overcome. Especially when that part of yourself is very strong, has been the part of yourself that is anchored in your survival all your life. I've very rarely relied on somebody else's paycheck, for several decades now. So
Yeah.
how do you just give that away to somebody else when you have every reason to believe that you're the only way you're going to survive in this world? So I can definitely relate to that part of this. What would I do differently? It's just like put my hands up, and let go.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, people kind of take that wrong approach, don't they? It's I'll give you two options, Adam. Okay. So you can pay a guy let's say $200 a month, right? To learn, and is legitimate and can actually teach you. He has the tools and the methods to teach you. Or you can go to somewhere, let's say they're offering everything for free, right? And there's thousands of people in the room. Nobody has skin in the game. It's chaos, because those rooms are chaos. They absolutely are. With no proven track record, this guy just popped up out of nowhere, just started doing it. Who do you go with?
Well, it's easy. It's a no-brainer. If you're thinking
Yeah.
about it. Yeah. Well, and look
Like,
at how the public treats free. Wherever there's free services, look at how it turns into filth, it turns into disarray, it turns into destruction. And that's just the reality, you know.
yeah. Yeah,
It does not bring
absolutely.
beauty.
Well, and this is like at the end of the day, we're all, when you're getting into this, we're all into it to get that freedom and to make
Mhm.
money and get into like have our freedom. Money equals freedom, right? For a lot of us, it does. Why would you ever want to set yourself back? It's just weird. Like, okay, so I'll give somebody $0 and he'll teach me, and obviously not going to get anywhere with it. Maybe you do that for 2 years. Well, like, you're 2 years behind. If you would have just had some skin in the game, you would be there by now.
Mhm.
It's one of those things, man, that it's like, and I understand, like, there are like I've always said, my predecessors have made it very difficult for me, because there's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of scammers. We talked about this in the last one as well, as to why I do this, right? And it's a really big disconnect between like why somebody would expect to attempt the hardest career on the planet. Nothing has a higher fail rate than day trading, retail day trading. And you're going to attempt that, what, on your own? Somebody that's giving shit away for free? And I give a lot of stuff away for free, or you could just package it and put some skin in the game and learn it. Let's do it. Like, it's just one of those things, man, where a lot of people, there's just a massive disconnect. Like, again, like I said, opening this one up, would you go, like, let's say you had something came up and you had to go to court for whatever reason. Maybe someone broke into your house and you dropped him and he didn't make it, and now you need to go represent yourself in court. Would you get a free public defender, or would you pay for a lawyer? Well, I would hope you would take the latter on that one.
I would go into as much debt as necessary because guess what? Your freedom's on the line.
Freedom.
That's
Exactly.
what's on the line here.
Yep. And same with a doctor, right? Like, would you go to a doctor that was, I don't know, went to some clown college, right? When your life was on the line, or a family member was on the line? Or would you go to that doctor, the one that you could afford, like, just like, you have to do it? It's a no-brainer. So those careers, and as crazy as it sounds, I know it sounds crazy, but statistically speaking, retail day trading is a lot more difficult. They have a far higher fail rate, right? So I just don't understand where the disconnect is. It's weird. It's a strange one for me to wrap my head around, because I would never expect anyone to give their time away for free. It's like, they must be the type of person that, like, they ask a friend to help them move. Hey buddy, can you help me move? And then they don't even like buy the beer, buy fucking like a bucket of chicken after or something. It's just like, okay, thanks, bye. Like, what? Like, throw in a meal, motherfucker. Like, it's just one of those things that it's just, I don't know. I respect people's time. If I'm going to ask someone for help and learn from them, I know that person is busy and their time is valuable, as all successful people's time is. They have other shit that they could be doing. So there needs to be some sort of give and take, right?
Well, and this might go, I mean, I'll just throw it out there because it ties into this, and just talking about why there's a disconnect between, let's say, what it takes to become a doctor or a lawyer or something that's a very highly respected profession,
Yeah.
and why there's so many people that think they're going to become a day trader when the path to success is so much greater than either of those professions. And I think it comes to something I would go back and change, is my expectations. And I think because the barrier to entry to day trading is so much lower than becoming a doctor and on a formal level.
Yep.
The expectations of when it comes to becoming a doctor. Okay, I got to go to school for what, 8, 12 years at least. And I got to have a certificate hanging on my wall behind me. And I have an office and I have to go into debt. So you've got a reasonable range of expectations of what it's going to take to become a doctor. And I thought because the barrier to entry to trading, a little money, the way the world is right now, within 24 hours, I'm a professional trader as far as I know. And
Yeah.
so it's a huge delusion. And that's where the disconnect is. I think it's the expectations, my journal, oh, I'm going to make $1,000 a day in 6 months. That's reasonable. I think I could do that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think because the barrier to entry, it creates it is so low and the barrier to success is so high. There's a huge gap of reality and delusion that's floating around. And that's why it's so important to have a teacher, because the teacher is going to help close that gap and reduce those delusions. And I wish I would have really understood. Well, I was smart enough to at least know I need a teacher. I just didn't know where to find the right teacher, but I don't think a lot of people understand the need for a teacher, and they're just floating around going from video to video and kind of piece this together. And it's like, it's not going to work that way. You need structure, just like a doctor needs structure to learn how to operate on a human being. So I would have fixed that
Absolutely.
real quick. I'm not going to make a
Real
thousand
quick.
dollars a day in 6 months. It's just not going to
Yep.
happen. It
Yep.
does, and the cool thing is, it doesn't need to happen.
No.
It doesn't need to happen.
No, I just crunched the numbers in one of my live trade recaps there on YouTube and on X as well. You can follow me on X at TrickMitch1, or sorry, at TrickTrades1, TrickTrades1. But I just crunched the numbers for people. We took some trades in Momentum dealing with the live trading members, trade live twice a week with them, and made $236 off of a few small little trades and just taking little incremental trades. And people will look at that and it's like, oh, that's not a lot. Well, that works out to 60 grand a year. And that's just if that's all you made. Well, you're going to have days where it's 3x. You're going to have days that's 5x. You're going to have a few days out of the year that you're probably going to make 10x that. Right. And it's like that 60 grand a year turns into 90, 100 very, very quickly if that's all you're shooting for. Right. And it's like it's such a doable path. It really is. And the quickest way is my last point, number 5. Like, I think I would have focused more on working on myself and emotional control. Now, we have lots of videos out there on this, so I'm not going to dive too much into detail with it, right? But that's one thing I definitely would have changed. It's not about the strategy. I know everybody thinks it's like, oh, I need to find a strategy. I need to learn this. No, you need to work on yourself, and you need to get your emotions under control, and you need to stop the bullshit and the lies and everything else that fucking goes along with that, because that's the most important part. That is why, see, everyone, like I've said a million times, the fail rate is 95% of all retail traders that attempt this fail. That's because of that. It's not about the technicals. It's not about the fundamentals. It's not about any of that. It's about they didn't take the time to work on themselves and get their emotions under control and start having proper mentality. That's why we dedicate so much to this channel on this. And it's funny, and I've said this a million times, the videos that won't help you at all, those are my most watched videos. The ones with the least amount of views, those are the special ones. Those are the ones that'll really actually help you make money as a day trader. It's funny how that works. And that's because 90%ers will do 90%er shit. They'll click on the stuff that they think is going to make them money. Nope. It's the opposite.
Well, they're addicted to a dopamine.
Yeah, that's what it is, And so I think with that said, keep in mind, folks, August 5th, 7 p.m. So this upcoming Monday, we're doing a free webinar for day traders. We're going to be going over essentially how not to blow up your account this election year. We're going to be going and talking about how to grow your account in volatile markets. Don't let unstable conditions impact your day trading progress. Increase profits regardless of price action. Know when to cut the trade without trading profits for losses. Nail reset trades and get green on the day. And a live Q&A as well. So to talk about that a little bit more here, I'm going to show you guys how to enter and exit into trades. This is going to be an in-depth free webinar. It's not going to be nonsense. It's not going to be bullshit. It's not about pumping or pushing some product in your face. This is an intense educational webinar for free for you guys that support me and have supported me through the years. This is a way of me saying thank you and giving back, giving you guys some top-notch, members-only type of content where I'm not going to hold anything back. So make sure you RSVP your seat today. That link will be in the pinned comment. So I'm going to put that link to RSVP in the pinned comment. So make sure to check that out and get RSVP'd on August 5th. For those of you that are still watching, I appreciate it. I think I'm going to wrap this one up, Adam. Thank you very much. Your insights are always helpful.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
You betcha, man. Okay, guys, until next time.
Talk to you.
Adios.